The government wants to generate more income through the proposed creation of the Maharlika Wealth Fund, but various stakeholders oppose the draft bill targeting pension funds as among the primary sources of its seed money. The administration's economic team, however, assures the public there are enough safeguards to ensure the funds will be managed properly.
Hindi po pensyon. Ang binuburo namin dito ay yung mga investable funds that are supposed to earn money for us to be able to fulfill our obligation to our stakeholders. Ang contribution po ng membro namin is 9%. Ang nagko-contribute po ang employer ng additional 12 for a total of 21. Pagkadating po ng retirement, yung last 3 years pay, bibigay po namin yung average no ng 90% po ng average na yon. At saan po namin kukunin yung balanse ng 69%? Kung hindi mag-invest at kumita ang pera. Kaya napakabigat na responsibilidad po sa amin na maghanap ng safe and at the same time profitable investments para sa amin. Kaya pa sa mga ibang nangangamba at iniisip na gagamitin po ang pera po ng mga ating retirees, hindi po. Ito po yung ating mong ini-invest talaga.
Good evening. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. Our guest tonight, the economist Emmanuel Leco. Good evening, Professor Leco. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, we just showed that what we call a soundbite from Vic Veloso, GSIS President and GM General Manager. That's been medyo overtaken by events. And we're going to begin with that because I guess you can say this is quite a big plot twist because the GSIS and SSS have been removed as funding sources. And this according to Congresswoman Stella Kimbo, one of the authors of that proposed legislation. So Professor Leco, if we go by Stella Kimbo's statements, so she's saying that they listened to the reservations ng mga contributors sa SSS and GSIS, and that is why they are amending that bill. What does this all sound like to you?
Well, it looks like the due diligence was not done. In fact, the consultation should have been done before they announced that they are going to legislate the law that will tap into the funds of the members. And I think the overwhelming objection by the members did it, and that's good. However, there are more funds that are still being considered, like funds from Land Bank, funds from DBP, and I think the most important here is the fund of Bangko Sentral. So I think they will have to explain again how will they now maintain the independence, autonomy of Bangko Sentral, which was I think there was a problem with the old Central Bank of the Philippines. That's why we had a autonomous and independent Bangko Sentral today that should be free from any political influence and give it to the managers that will manage Bangko Sentral professionally.
We'll go back to the issue of political influence, or if there is going to be any, in just a bit. But Professor Leco, and also joining us now also via Zoom, Senator Coco Pimentel, Minority Leader at the Senate. Ito ngang mga funding sources, papakita lang po natin. This is from the PowerPoint presentation of Congressman Joey Salceda. So just to put it out there in black and white. GSIS originally, before this morning's plot twist, GSIS 125 billion, SSS 50 billion, Land Bank of the Philippines 50 billion, Development Bank of the Philippines 25 billion, TOP 25 billion. So total 275 billion. So medyo magbabago talaga ang headline, hindi na 275 billion Maharlika Wealth Fund, baka 100 billion na lang. But I wanted to get first the reaction of Coco Pimentel, Senator Coco Pimentel, to this latest development, itong ngang hindi na kasama, hindi na gagamiting funding source ang GSIS at SSS. Senator Pimentel?
Hi, Pia, and to Professor Noel, and to everyone who is listening and watching us. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.
Yeah, Senator Coco,
Okay,
yes. Sige po, go ahead.
Yes, our topic is the Sovereign Wealth Fund. So obviously, kung from 250 naging 275 billion, ngayon down to 100 plus billion, ibig sabihin medyo hindi na pag-isipan ng mabuti ang panukalang batas na ito. So ibalik na lang po natin sa authors for them to develop their idea kung gusto pa nila. Kasi kaming mga senador na we are we are lukewarm to the proposal, and we are willing to invest the time to study once there is a valid proposal. So ang magsumika po na pagandahin ang panukalang batas, yung mga proponents po, hindi po kami.
Okay. Senator Coco and Professor Leco, kanina pinakita na nga natin yung interview on Newsnight kay Vic Veloso, and he was saying, and he was very emphatic about it, he said, hindi naman pension funds ang i-invest, kundi investable funds. Hindi daw, the pension funds will not be touched. And now you have this, what I call plot twist today, where they say, hindi na gagamitin GSIS at SSS dahil nga ang daming agam-agam ng mga contributors. So what are we to believe? Na hindi talaga, the pension funds were not to have been touched, or they were because now medyo nag-backtrack ang authors ng bill?
Correct,
If I may,
Pia. And then yung investable funds generated ng ano yun? Hindi ba ng contributions din? So they all form part of the assets of the pension fund. And then ginagamit din po lahat ng assets na yan, investable funds man or members contribution, in computing the actuarial life of the fund. Ang pagkakaalam ko, we are already short in the ideal number of years of the actuarial life of our funds. Tapos i-risk, conservative approach na yon, ha? We are already short of the international standards. Tapos ang gusto pa natin maging ipasa sa isang fund to be more aggressive. So something is wrong, at mabuti nga kaya tignan nyo, hindi natin naintindihan. So I think the burden to make us understand falls on the shoulders of those who started all of this brouhaha or noise in the first place. Siguro balik na lang tayo sa talagang problema ng ating bansa, yung inflation, ilan na ba? 8%, kakulangan sa pagkain, ang kahirapan. Diyan na lang tayo mag-focus po, kasi yung Sovereign Wealth Fund, kahit mag-succeed yan, it will take years bago po maramdaman talaga ng ordinaryong mamamayan ang benepisyo galing po sa investments ng Sovereign Wealth Fund. So diretso na lang po tayo to answer the problem of inflation. Harvest tayo ng mas maraming kakainin natin, pagkain natin, yung kahirapan, ayusin natin.
Professor Leco, before we go to a break, your comment.
Well, actually, I was about to say, I think GSIS management is forgetting that the funds of GSIS are owned by the members, and management is there purely to manage. It's not owned by the management. It's not government funds. And I think there are also previous legal decisions that have been made that established that SSS and GSIS funds are private funds owned by the members. These are not public funds.
My next question will be this: is there plenty of reaction to the Maharlika Wealth Fund, in part because of its name? But that question will be answered just after this very quick break. Stay tuned.
a number of investments are going to fall uh, into a defined mandate that we're going to do. And one of which is to invest in those that are critical for national development. Infrastructure is one of them. And I was in the private sector. We were advising corporate clients who went into infrastructure where returns are between 18 to 25%. Kung gusto ho natin makapaglagay rin ho ng mga ganong oportunidad sapagkat hindi lang naman po ang private sector ang dapat makinabang dyan. Dapat rin ho tayo dito sa gobyerno ay matutong mag-invest ng tama at at the same time safe in the same manner that we would like to make sure that the returns all accrue to our members.
I will try to, we don't have a definite timeline, but my estimate probably second reading this December. Basta so far as the Committee on Rules is concerned, at what I know as the chairman of the Committee on Rules, aabot siya ng second reading ngayong December.
Now the question is, will that timeline be followed after that major development today? Welcome back. This is Politics as Usual. We're talking about the Maharlika Wealth Fund. Still with us, Senator Coco Pimentel and economist Emmanuel Leco joining us via Zoom. So the question that was left hanging before you went to the break, is there plenty of reaction to the Maharlika Wealth Fund, in part, just in part, because of its name? Senator Coco? Okay. Senator, naka-mute po ata kayo. But while we're waiting for the Senator to put on...
Okay.
Oo, kasi Maharlika, syempre, well, the way I remember it, isn't this... wasn't Maharlika the name by which the President's father, when he was President, wanted the Philippines to be known?
Yes, Pia. Tama yan. If ever we should have... We should establish a sovereign wealth fund, we will have to call this the kinabukasan ng Pilipino fund. Mga ganon. It must be neutral. Wala po siyang papanigan na political concept or political narration or story.
Political narration or concept. Pero sinabi nga ni Sandro Marcos, Congressman Ilocos Norte and son of the President just a day or two ago, na parang, and I paraphrase, pinupolitika ito, this is being politicized. Is it being politicized? Should it be politicized, Senator Coco?
Well, by giving it that name, they were the ones who made this politicized from the very start. So let's just get kinabukasan ng Pilipinas fund, whatever. Mga ganyang proposal po.
Pero maganda naman yung logo nila, no? Sari Manok, the mythical bird. Professor Leco, I know this is just design and a name, and syempre economist naman po kayo. But I wanted to ask you also, unless you do want to talk about the name and the political context here and the logo if you want to, but also I wanted to ask you, does it matter which administration we're talking about, or is it just really about timing?
Well, it should not matter which administration. I think the timing should be the major factor here. And also timing and preparedness and capability of the country to undertake such a big investment initiative. So in this case, when they say I will get funds from SSS, from GSIS, those organizations are already mandated to do investment. So basically, if I can just guess what they're trying to do, they want to scale up their investment capability. So they want to be big in the market. So would that really have an effect in the market? We are so tiny. We are so small. We cannot be like the China sovereign fund. We cannot be like the Norway sovereign fund, because when they make investments, they can basically influence the price of what they are buying or positions that they take. People can follow. But in the Philippines, if we take a position, I'm not sure people will follow, because the Philippines took that position in the market.
Doon nga sa frequently asked questions, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, parang the power of volume kasi they acknowledge na all these agents, GSIS, SSS, they do their investments on their own. Pero pag pinagsama daw, there is power in volume or a similar term. But Professor Leco, kung tayo yung pag-uusapan, in short and simple language, yes or no lang ang sagot dito. Is it a good time for this Maharlika Wealth Fund?
No, it's
No,
not.
it's a bad time.
We don't have excess funds, and I don't think we are in a position to take positions and risk people's money at this point.
Well, a while ago, Professor Leco was talking about the other investment funds, and we have this slide that came from Congressman Joey Salceda, itong background history showing all these existing funds, yung Kuwait Investment Authority, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, the GIC Private Limited, Brunei Investment Agency, and so on and so forth. So they're saying that this has been done all over the world. But the question here, Professor Leco and Senator Coco, is what is it going to take for us to be as successful as these other countries that have these wealth funds? Professor Leco.
Well, for example, the Norwegian fund was established from oil revenues, and they dedicated the use of the sovereign fund for the pension of the Norwegians. So the origins of those funds came from oil revenues. And if we are going to go back a little bit, we had that opportunity. If we were able to establish a sovereign wealth fund based on Malampaya revenues, that would have been nice. Pero wala na yun ngayon, no? So parang we missed the boat. We missed that opportunity when we had the chance to make it as a sovereign wealth fund na hindi natin kukolektahin sa tao ang pondo para i-invest sa mga risky na mga investments. I think that's the concept that's missing here. People are investing because they have excess funds. Hindi natin sinusugal ang pensyon ng mga mamamayan. So ngayon, tinanggal na nila ang SSS at saka ang GSIS, pero meron pa rin mga natitira. Paano naman yung pondo ng Land Bank at ng Development Bank of the Philippines na dapat ay ini-invest nila at binibigyan nila ng pagkakataon ang mga mamamayan na mangutang o kaya magdeposito at sila ang bibigyan nila ng pondo o ng ganansya mula sa kanilang mga pondo. Hindi po ito dapat kinakaptive na market nila para ito naman ang kanilang i-deposito doon sa mga ibang mga investments at take more risk. I don't think that is widely or clearly understood or clearly explained by the proponents. The investment should come from excess funds of institutions. Kumbaga, meron kang sobra sa iyong pondo, pwede mong ilagay sa mga investments other than yung ating mga bangko. Kung meron kang excess, siguro you can take more risk. Pero kung wala kang excess, siguro mas magiging maingat ka kung saan mo i-deposito ang pera mo.
Excess like yung Malampaya, tulad ng sinabi po ninyo, di sana Malampaya Wealth Fund na lang. But anyway, we're going to take a very quick break and we're going to get into the final stretch of the show. More from our guests when we return. This is Politics as Usual. You're still on Politics as Usual. The House of Representatives bent on passing House Bill 6398 with amendments on second reading by next week. Let's get more details from our correspondent over there, Sian Arcangel at the Batasang Pambansa. What can you tell us, Sian?
Pia, Congresswoman Stella Kimbo says the decision to remove GSIS and SSS as funding sources for the proposed Maharlika Wealth Fund was a result of the consultations conducted by the House Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries since the bill was filed on November 28. With the GSIS, SSS, and the national budget out as funding sources, the initial amount of the seed money will be changed, according to Kimbo. House Bill 6398 initially proposed a 260 75 billion peso fund coming from the GSIS, SSS, Land Bank of the Philippines, Development Bank of the Philippines, and the national government.
Kailangan lang ng isang amount that's big enough to be able to start an investment fund. That's palagay namin with proposed contributions of LBP, of Land Bank of the Philippines, Development Bank of the Philippines, and dividends from the BSP. Sa tingin namin ay pwede nang umpisahan itong investment fund.
Aside from the changes regarding the funding sources for the Maharlika Wealth Fund, Kimbo says they are also discussing possible changes regarding the composition of the board of directors for the Maharlika Wealth Fund Corporation, which will be managing the Sovereign Wealth Fund. However, she says that further discussions about the proposed amendments to the bill will be made when the House Committee on Appropriations discusses House Bill 6398 this Friday. Back to you, Pia.
Sian Arcangel there reporting. So it turns out even more changes expected in that House bill. Final words now from Centro Coco Pimentel and economist Professor Manuel Leco. But I wanted to squeeze these three questions into one question so that we can get your final words. So dahil kanina pinakita na natin yung mga ina-outline na allowable investments. The question here is, how can we be sure that these will be sound investments and that there will be no favors made for choice companies or choice investments. And also, kasi dinetalye nila yung mga safeguards na kung tawagin, nasabi nila may internal audit, external audit, COA in the picture, Executive Department reportorial requirement, and congressional oversight. Pero meron ding mga exemptions from the law. So, all these combined, what level, is there a level of comfort that these give you? Professor Leco.
Actually, the exemptions, basically the sources of my discomfort with this bill, exempted sila sa procurement law, exempted sila sa salary standardization law, exempted sila sa corporate law that basically oversees everybody else. So, maski na i-audit sila, wala silang makikita dito na violation kasi exempted na sila sa mga law. So parang from the beginning, they're already setting it up in such a way na they will not be violating any law, although they will deviate from the usual practice governing management of huge funds of the people. So right now, it's going to be very, very clear. Land Bank and Development Bank of the Philippines, and lalo na itong Bangko Sentral, these are people's funds. Hindi na ito membership funds, but now this will become basically funds that come from deposits and operations of the government and taxes.
All right.
So mahirap na yan. And before I forget, Pia,
yes.
and Senator Coco, when we were talking about saan ba dapat natin kinuha ang pondo, I was reminded, merong Bonifacio, yung Fort Bonifacio sale, Ang laki nun, billions yun. So dapat yan ang naging seed money ng ating wealth fund, ang sovereign wealth fund. Kasi binenta natin yan So may mga windfall profit yan, mga windfall gains, yun dapat ang naging source.
Pero ginagamit sa iba yon, hindi po ba?
Hindi, iba po ang pinaggamitan noon. At ngayon nga, hindi na nila makita na sabi nila for the military modernization program. Pero hindi naman nila masabi na ito talaga ay galing dun sa pinagbentahan.
Okay.
Pero that would have been a major way para ma-isolate nila, ma-segregate nila kung magkano ang pinagbentahan at ito ang magiging ganansya. Pinagbili natin ng 4 billion, ngayon kumikita na tayo 8 billion na siguro halimbawa. So, yun ang mga example.
Okay.
Revenues from sale, revenues from operations, hindi yung taxes, hindi yung mga pondo na ibibigay ng mamamayan sa mga bangko.
Okay, so Malampaya or Fort Bonifacio sale. But anyway, Senator Coco, may utang na lang po ako sa inyo na isa pang guesting kasi kulang na po yung oras natin. So thank you very much. I'm so sorry, Senator Coco. Thank you very much, Professor Leco and Senator Pimentel. We've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or the family reunion or in Viber groups and risk warfare, digital or otherwise. But we could talk about it here at this table on this show, your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. See you back here next Wednesday, 8 p.m.